Okay, good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started, so I welcome all of you to take a seat. All right, thank you so much for being here this evening and for braving our thunderstorm tonight. We appreciate you coming in and getting informed on today's topics. I'm Dr. Roxanne Fuentes, the proud superintendent for the Berryessa Union School District, and I'm also the current president for BCAC, so welcome. We are calling this meeting officially to order at 7:05 p.m. And for this meeting, one thing we'd like to do before we get started on our agenda is, again, we have another dear friend that has passed to BCAC and our community here in Berryessa and the city of San Jose at large. As you know, we recognized another longtime member during our last meeting, and this is a member that has had many tributes already across the city of San Jose, but we certainly didn't want to miss recognizing and acknowledging his contributions to our community this evening. And so we're going to be taking a moment of silence to recognize Dr. Robert Bob Gross, who passed away this summer on July 4th at the age of 92. He was a former 20-year Valley Water Director and Alviso historian, a Korean War medic veteran, and a good friend to so many of us. Many in the BCAC knew him and his wife Lonnie as friends and familiar faces. Bob was awarded the Berryessa Citizen of the Year Award in 2000, and Lonnie was recognized with the same award in 2008. So you can see the commitment to service that their family had. They sat together on the epistle side of the hall at BCAC meetings and always asked hard questions. Their engagement and support of our community will certainly be missed. We also want to recognize their close friend and our close friend, Mr. Santos, sitting right up here, also a BCAC Citizen of the Year, who had the opportunity to see him right before his passing and ability to deliver a very special message on behalf of their friendship and longtime history. And we thank you, Mr. Santos, for doing that. We ask that you please keep the Gross family in your thoughts and prayers. We know that, when you lose a loved one, it's never easy, and it certainly takes time to heal. And we want to send them our very best and know that we're always thinking of them and have a lot of gratitude for their contributions to our Berryessa community. So with that, if we can please just take a brief moment of silence in honor of Bob Gross. Thank you. So moving on in our agenda, I know Ty will be coming with us for minutes. You'd like to share a little bit about what's forthcoming.
Okay, I am secretary for the BCAC, and I want to let you know that there's wood. You can hear me, can't you? I'm getting this. Can everyone hear me? Okay, so there's bad news, good news, and questionable news. The bad news is that I became over-reliant on Eric's video program to generate minutes. So I'm behind in minutes because Eric has been challenged to get those things uploaded, but they're now uploaded. So the good news is by this weekend, I will have generated minutes. The questionable news is I'm going to use AI to create the meeting minutes. So no telling what kind of words it's going to put in my mouth, or Roxanne's, but we'll check and see. But that's kind of what's going on with the minutes. I apologize to you, but we will get minutes to you, and we'll upload the videos to the website as soon as they are appropriate. Okay? Any questions? Be looking for those minutes. They're going to be interesting.
Thank you. Thank you, Ty. And next, I'd like to invite Susan up, our treasurer.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? So I'm Susan, I'm the treasurer, and I have the budget report that covers September 2025. So our beginning balance was $1,020.12. We had membership dues of $30. We had a UNSCC event insurance payment of $126. The balance on September 30th was $924.12. We have a City of San Jose District 4 grant. The beginning balance in September was $5,083.90. Then we had a payment for the balance of the viewfinder for the project at the Bob Gross Ponds. That's at $1,985.50. So the ending balance is $3,098.40. Then we have a District 3 urgent grant, and that has a balance of $3,347.64. Then we have a Beautify San Jose grant cycle 7 that has a current balance of $5,000. Tonight we have one more new member. If you don't mind standing and introducing yourself.
Sure. Umang Doshi. I live in the Cataldi Park neighborhood, and I've been living here for 12 years now. I have 2 small kids going to various school district, and for almost 4 or 5 years now. And I'm great to be here.
It's nice to have you. Yes, and just for all the new members, and including current members and just guests, we have board openings that are coming up, so it's something to think about. It's a 1-year commitment, and anybody with great ideas and the love for their community, we'd love to have you. So please look out for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. And with that, we'll move along to our law enforcement reports. Given the weather, I know our folks are really busy out there making sure that we're all being safe. But we do have tonight our CHP partners, Captain Bradford and company. Please come on up, and we're happy to hear your report.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'll try to make this quick, but I'll get to the most important part first. Last month and for months, I've been talking about trying to identify a community outreach officer, and I last month said I'm going to try to bring him next month, and here he is. So, Officer Ruiz, yeah. He is assigned to the road for the rest of the month, and then we'll get him full-time as a community outreach officer in November. So he's literally working a beat in the rain, but felt it's important to pull him out here so you can see his face. We've already heard from one person about some traffic complaints. You want to introduce yourself just real quick?
Yeah, my name is Officer Rees. I'm working here in San Jose, and then I just received this position, so I'm excited for next month to take over and hopefully, go out there and hammer those areas that you guys are complaining about.
Yeah, and you were talking about Sia Road, and after you left, he told me, it's funny, 2 months ago, they got a call at night for some cars gathering, drinking, and he actually went out there with his trainee and arrested someone. So we are out there. You might not see us all the time, but we will. Right now, our traffic complaint go to our front desk officer, and for me, I just felt like those complaints should be going to someone who's actually going to go out there and see what actual complaints are, where they are. So that'll probably take a month or two. Some of his duties will be going to community meetings, responding to traffic complaints, and then recruitment. Months ago, Officer Ruiz started a applicant preparation program. We call it APP. So if you're applying with the CHP, you could come to our office every Tuesday night or Saturday, work out with him. I recommend that if you're going to work out with him, that you better drink a lot of water. And what that program does is prepare applicants for the academy. There's a lot of physical running, push-ups, sit-ups, and then we do some classroom work where they could learn the 10 codes, stuff like that. He's been running that for several months. And how many do you think are in the program right now?
Like 20.
Yeah, so it went from 2. The first time I started it was, what month was that, May or June? We had 2 people show up, and I was like, oh, this is not going to work. And he took it over full time, and we have 20 people, including someone that's starting the academy this month.
Yeah, last week.
So the goal is we recruit people local, and that way, out of the academy, they want to go to San Jose, they're from here, and they don't transfer a year. Because you have to understand, when we get someone, even though they've been through the academy for 6 months, they come to our office, we train them for 4 months, or her, but they're eligible to transfer right at their year mark, and a lot of people do. So we're starting to recruit locally, that way we could retain local officers. That way they know about Sierra Road, because honestly, a lot of our officers right now, we need them to learn the freeways and learn what's the dangerous areas and the crashes that are having injuries or fatalities, and then, they slowly learn, the unincorporated areas. A couple things I'd like to talk about. After last month's meeting, someone contacted me about the graffiti northbound here at the exit. We did establish that was the HOAs, that's not Caltrans, so if you know what I'm talking about. And Caltrans actually was working with that local HOA because they're responsible to paint that fence. Even though you see it from the freeway, it might seem like it's Caltrans. A lot of those fences, like especially if they're walls, because communities build those are maintained by the HOA, not Caltrans. So, but they were already aware of it, and the HOA was supposed to be painting it. I don't know if they painted it. I haven't driven it by in a couple weeks. And then another thing that hit the news since our last meeting was the governor's doing a huge campaign on unsheltered encampments, and they announced in the news they're going to start in San Francisco, Oakland, and San Jose. And that's being led by the governor's office, the Office of Emergency Services, CHP, and Caltrans. That has not happened yet in San Jose. They've done it in San Francisco, but I just want you to know that we're doing continued efforts on those encampments on the freeways. It is illegal to live, walk, ride a bike, anything on the freeway. So we are continuing to try to get those individuals not only just off the freeway, but to get them resources. And I'll just highlight one effort that we did. So southbound 101 north of McKee, I know it's not your community, but due to a large park being unpopulated by the city, a third of that encampment, we're talking cars, trucks, RVs, they found a private property southbound north of McKee. They kind of built a makeshift dirt on an off-ramp, and they populated it. So we had 50 RVs, cars. I was there one day and personally was out there on a Friday. We talked to all of them, said you're on private property. The only way they could get in and out of this encampment was from this makeshift dirt on an off-ramp. So think about if you're driving on 101 in the slow lane and you see an RV come out of literally the bushes. Extremely dangerous. We talked to them on Friday, working with San Jose Police Department, Caltrans, and the owner of that property, which was actually Kellogg's, the cereal brand. We shut down a lane from them the next Thursday, and every one of them was out of there. So we can work together to solve these problems. It's not going to happen overnight, but if we the governors, it's a serious issue for the governor, for the city leaders. I meet with them all the time. And it's dangerous. A lot of our pedestrian fatalities are unhoused individuals that are either suffering from mental illnesses or possibly narcotics, but they wander on the freeway, and it not only affects their lives, but the people that unfortunately crash into them as well. So that's our efforts. That's our update. We are going to start. He's going to be attending these meetings. We're going to start discussing one thing. We have talking points. Today's is inclement weather. It's raining. So it's fitting, right? I planned that. Just a couple of reminders to slow down. A lot of people think, it's not only speed, but it's also the distance you're traveling behind someone. So you see it on the freeway, you see it on city streets. In my unmarked car I drive, I see it on my way to work, on my way home to work every day. People tailgate, but in the rain, just remind yourselves and your family to give that safe distance. One key piece of information that is in this is, some of you might know it, but Caltrans has a 1-800 number. If you're not familiar with it, it's 1-800-427-7623. Again, that's 1-800-427-7623. It probably has an acronym, but if you're anywhere in the state and you're on Highway 17, you're up on 80, it gives you traffic conditions. Some of you might have heard it.
Welcome to the Caltrans Highway Information Service. This highway information is the latest reported as of October 13th at 7:20 p.m. At any time during this
So you hear
call,
that?
press the star return
1
to
minute
the
ago
main
is
menu.
updated. So it'll ask you, it's probably trying to compute what I say, but it'll ask you, name a highway. You could say State Route 17. It'll say there are 4 accidents, or 10 minutes ago when I did this, surprisingly, knock on wood, because that's one of his beats, there was actually 0 accidents there. But anyways, I'll give that number again. Put it in your phone, save it, 1-800-427-7623. All right, any questions for the CHP? Yes, sir.
Just a comment. Thank you for your report. Welcome. Welcome to your room. Always welcome to stop by and say hi. And thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments, questions? All right. Thank you. See you next month.
Thank you so much. So next, we're going to move on to our topic presentation for this evening, and we'll be starting with Bay QMD. So if you'd like to begin your setup, feel free to come on up here. So this evening, we have an two informational presentations regarding recent Bay QMD enacted regulations that concern natural gas furnaces, water heaters, and gasoline dispensing facilities. So just to share with everyone, this evening is not intended to be a debate. It's an informational opportunity for you to get a better understanding of these regulations, possible implications they may have for you, as well as to know available resources that are out there for you to address this issue. And so we have 2 presentations, and then we will open the floor to questions from our audience. We do this evening have our microphone there in the center. I do ask, when it comes time for questions, if you have a question, to please go to the mic. Remember that we do have viewers watching us on Zoom, and I'm sure more tonight because of the weather, and they have requested that we use microphone for questions because they're not able to hear you when you speak from your chair. So if we could please do that for our members online. And so for our first presentation, I would like to introduce Greg Nudd, representing Bay Area Air Quality Management District. Welcome.
All right, thank you, Dr. Fuentes. Appreciate the invitation, and I appreciate that Mr. Greaves got this set up tonight. We do appreciate the opportunity to come talk to you all and let you know about these upcoming rules and how they may impact you and answer any questions you might have. So my name is Greg Nudd. I'm the Deputy Executive Officer for Policy at the Bay Area Air Quality Management District. And I'm going to talk to you tonight about our zero NOx building rules. Now, NOx is nitrogen oxides, and it's one of the more important pollutants that we deal with here in the Air District. A little background on the Air District first. We were formed in 1955 by the California legislature. We regulate stationary sources of air pollution, so that's everything from fireplaces to refineries to concrete patch plants. Our jurisdiction is the 9-county Bay Area, which includes part of Sonoma and part of Solano County. We're governed by a board of directors made up of 24 elected representatives, and these are county supervisors and city council members and mayors. 4 of those are from Santa Clara County. Palo Alto Vice Mayor Vicky Vinker, County Supervisor Margaret Abekoga, County Supervisor Otto Lee. The 4th member was Campbell Mayor Sergio Lopez, but he recently resigned, and his replacement will be selected by the Santa Clara Cities Association. So just a high-level background on air pollution and public health. Really, the air pollutants we care about the most are particulate matter, which are fine particles in the air. Those are small enough to get past your body's defenses. They get into your bloodstream. They interfere with the operations of your heart and your lungs and cross the blood-brain barrier. So this pollution's been linked to asthma, bronchitis, emphysema. Heart attacks and strokes are probably the most significant issue with particulate matter pollution. That's what drives a lot of the excess deaths due to particulate matter pollution, and it tends to be focused on older individuals. Those are the ones that are impacted most by the heart attacks and strokes. Of course, the asthma is something that impacts young children when they develop it in areas with high levels of air pollution. Increasingly, there's evidence linking air pollution to diabetes and dementia. And every day a new study comes out along those lines. So the zero nitrogen oxides appliance rules have significant health benefit. In my next slide, I'll talk about how pollution from these devices compares to other sources of pollution in the Bay Area. But we're talking about outdoor air pollution here, not indoor air pollution. The outdoor venting of these appliances is what contributes to outdoor air pollution, and that's what is under our jurisdiction at the Air District. So the implementation of this rule will lower particulate matter, fine particulate matter exposure. And when we analyzed where those reductions would occur, the strongest reductions were actually in Santa Clara County. And communities of color disproportionately benefited from those reductions. As a result of that reduction in air pollution, our models are showing an avoidance of $890 million a year in health impacts and preventing up to 85 premature deaths. So this compares emissions from furnaces and water heaters with emissions from passenger vehicles and all 5 refineries. Now, the individual water heater and furnace at your house may not be that significant of a pollution source, but when you combine them all in the Bay Area, it's a very, very significant source of pollution, one of the largest. This is how the emissions from residential natural gas combustion breaks down. 66% is from space heating, furnaces, 23% is from water heating. Everything else in your house is less than 10%. And so our regulations are focusing on space heating and water heating. There are no plans to regulate other sources of NOx in the household. Those 2 devices comprise 90% of the pollution, and the rest of it, as they say, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. So some basics on the rules. Rules 9.4 and 9.6 have been in place for decades. The first version of these rules was promulgated in the 1970s. And what they do is they set these air pollution standards for water heaters and space heaters. And so when your old device burns out, you have to replace it with one that complies with our regulations. Now, over time, these regulations have made this equipment cleaner and cleaner. And, around 2021, 2022, 2023, we started looking at the available technology and moved towards putting in this technology forcing rule, because there were options out there on the market that could provide the heat, could provide the hot water without the pollution. As I said before, these rules do not cover stoves, ovens, fireplaces, and clothes dryers. This is not a gas ban. The Air District is not moving towards removing gas from all of your homes. This is an air pollution standard that covers these two types of equipment. The standards have a gradual phase-in. They apply, like I said, when your old appliance burns out and needs to be replaced. There's nothing in the regulations that would prevent you from repairing your existing appliances or keeping them all through the end of their natural life. But when they do burn out, the replacement needs to be zero NOx. The technology is, it's a technologically neutral rule. There is some technology out there that would enable gas appliances to meet zero NOx, but the equipment manufacturers are not building those appliances. So right now, the only options are electric ones, which is a big deal, right? It's changing the energy source for heat and water heating from natural gas to electric. And so it's a market forcing rule. And we have these in California because our air quality is the worst in the nation. And so California has consistently pushed the envelope on clean equipment, on clean cars, and sometimes we set those targets, they're kind of reach targets, maybe a little bit higher than we could easily meet. But built into both of these rules is a safety valve. So 2 years before the zero NOx standard comes into place, staff provides to our board of directors an interim report. So the first interim report was for water heaters, and that was completed in December of last year. And it covered market readiness, costs, workforce availability, infrastructure issues, and more. It was informed by a multi-stakeholder implementation working group, and this is made up of various experts in, let's see, we had PG&E there, we had the local power agencies, we had unions, we had manufacturers, we had developers, we had developers of market rate housing, developers of affordable housing. And that guided the staff's work in putting this implementation report together and helped us oversee some contractors that did some very detailed reports. And I'll give you a link at the end, and it's in the handout we put on your chair. You can go to the website. There are literally hundreds of pages of analysis for these rules, both for when they were initially made and for this interim report. So the board of directors takes a look at those findings and determines whether potential rule amendments need to be made. When we completed this first analysis, we concluded that there were some cases where the expense of making these water heater change-outs was higher than we expected when we did the original rule. So we're currently working on some proposed changes to the rules. There'll be a concept paper out before the end of this month that kind of lays those out, and we'll be presenting to our board of directors stationary source meeting in July, giving them an update, kind of telling the proposed direction that the staff would like to take these rules. And we'll get some feedback from them at that time. This will be a public meeting, so we expect to get some feedback from the public as well. So Rule 9.6 is for small water heaters. The current compliance date, which frankly will likely change, but right now it's January 1st, 2027. In the implementation readiness report that we provided in December of 2024, we found that the average incremental cost, so the incremental cost compared with putting in a heat pump water heater versus putting in a gas water heater, was $1,800 for tankless and $3,500 for new tanked. And this is from, many, many installations in the Bay Area over the past several years. One of the exciting things in the hot water heaters, and one of the reasons why we set this deadline sooner, is there are 120-volt plug-in hot water heaters that are pretty easy to swap out. In my house, I've got a water heater in the garage. It's already plugged into a 120-volt outlet because it's got electronic controls and it's got electric start. So swapping that out is going to be pretty straightforward, and we expect there's a lot of cases like that in the Bay Area. But that's not always the case. In some cases, fairly extensive work might be required, and we've got some data on that from Palo Alto's experience that kind of lays out the range of expenses when these changes need to be made. And it can include things like appliance relocation, electric panel upsizing, and emergency replacements. So as I said before, the staff is proposing flexibility amendments for board consideration in 2026, and you'll be able to learn more about that before the end of the month, and there'll be an opportunity for you to participate in that discussion in front of our decision makers in December. A quick word on panel upsizing. Most folks, if they've got a 100 amp panel, will not need to upsize. There's technology available now that allows circuit sharing, and we have found through our data analysis that if you're 100 amps, in most cases you will not need to upsize. I've had this analysis done at my house, and it included a full electrification, including a car charger, and I've got a design for my 1940s 100 amp panel that will allow me to fully electrify without having to hit PG&E for a greater service. Not everybody can do that, but most folks can. And for the folks that can't, that's why we're working on these flexibility amendments. So Rule 9.4 is for furnaces. That compliance date is in 2029, and we're just starting up the implementation working group for that phase right now. I signed a couple of contracts today for contractors to go out and look at some issues, both for single family and then another one for small multifamily and then one for large multifamily. That implementation readiness report is due to the Board of Directors in the end of 2026. In your handout here, you can see this URL. Sorry, it's a bit long, but if you go there, you can, as I said before, download all this information and sign yourself up for an email list so that as we progress with this, you'll be kept in the loop. So October, this month, we'll be releasing those flexibility amendments, a concept paper, and then we've got that first IWG kickoff. Now this phase 2 is for furnaces. We'll be talking about the flexibility amendments in December, and then in first quarter 2026, we'll have a public workshop about the rules. We'll have some rule language out at that point for people to react to. In August of 26, we'll have that phase 2 concluding for furnaces, and we'll make another presentation to our stationary source committee in fall. And then in December, we will have the implementation readiness report out to the Board of Directors, and this is for furnaces. So for 9.6, I would expect that that compliance start date on January 27 is going to be pushed out. I can't tell you we've been talking internally about 6 months, a year, maybe longer. We're trying to get those easy installs, trying to get those emission reductions and those health improvements as much as possible. But if we're going to have some flexibility, we're going to have to stand up a program in order to be able to do that, and that's going to take a little bit of time. And that's it. So I guess I'm handing back now, and we'll take questions after.
Thank you, Greg. If we could please give him a round of applause for his information tonight. Next, I would like to introduce to all of you Enrique Navarro Danellin from Too Costly Bay Area Coalition. Welcome.
So I'm the Government Affairs Associate with the Santa Clara County Association of realtors. There we go. And yes, we're part of a coalition called Too Costly Bay Area. Too costly because it's particularly expensive. So I want to draw everybody's attention as we start to the 3-page stapled handout. It's got that gas with the cross mark through it, just so you can follow along. Yeah, you got it right there. So you got it right there. So it's 3 pages. First talks about who, where, what, when, complications. Second page, the hidden costs are massive. And then the third page is cost, all the costs that come into electrifying a home that we got help from electricians and contractors in setting it all together. So first, I want to thank the Bay Area Citizens Advisory Council for inviting me to come give you this public service announcement, this update. And of course, as the previous presenters described, there's 2 rules at stake here, 9.4, which concerns furnaces, and 9.6, which concerns water heaters. So there's 4 key dates that I want you to remember. There's 2026, January 1st, January 1st, 2027, January 1st, 2029, and January 1st, 2031. In 2026, realtors, and anytime you transact a home, you have to start disclosing that these regulations are going to come into effect. So that's less than 3 months from now. You have to start including that in your disclosures. And January 1st of 2027, that's when residential water heaters are no longer allowed to be replaced with gas. They have to be made electric. 2029 for furnaces, and 2031 for commercial water heaters as well. So that would apply to more business size elements. As many of us know, many of our homes here are built prior to the 1980s. Some are even built prior to the 1950s, which means knob and tube wiring, which is considered unsafe by today's standards. It's not safe, it creates insurance issues. But these older homes are the most common, and they were designed on a dual fuel basis, meaning they require electricity and gas, because that's what their amperage, that's what their electrical system is designed to accommodate. This is before electric cars, before a lot of the extra electric gadgets that we have in our homes today. So a lot of our homes are already maxed out in their capacity. And so this creates an issue then. So if you can't replace your gas appliances, your water heaters and your furnaces like for like, you're now going to increase the electrical demand on your homes. Now when this happens, you've heard talk about a smart panel. Now you have to make a decision between, okay, am I going to have hot water, or am I going to use the microwave and and vacuum? I mean, you got to make rationing decisions between what you do in your home at any given time. Now obviously this has huge costs on homeowners, apartment owners, and business owners. For my sake, the scope of my remarks have to do with homeowners. And as you can see on the third page, you can look at all the costs that the electricians and the contractors helped us put together. They gave us a low end and they gave us a high end of all the different things that you may have to do to your home. Now, not all of these things will apply. Not everybody has a swimming pool or a spa, for example, so that may not apply to you. Not everybody will, has solar panels or whatnot. But there are many services here, like rewiring new 220 amp outlets, abatement of asbestos and lead, electric panel upgrades. These are all things that will have to be done, and that's all going to add to your costs. Now, this is actually 3 years old, so since then, inflation costs, you could actually expect it to be higher. And after the January 1st, 2027 date, you can expect there to be more of a bottleneck demand for these services, and then you can be looking down wait times, not only with looking for labor to electrify your home and do all these things to accommodate these electric appliances, but also to deal with PG&E permitting timelines, which realtors and people who've worked on these home projects have said to us. There are people who've gone up to 2 years waiting for PG&E permits to do certain projects. So if your gas water heater fails on January 1st, 2027, I don't know what the plan is for you to get hot water while you wait to pull the permits for several months to do a replacement, but that is an issue you'll have to consider. So the main focus, again, is the costs. Look at the costs, speak with your electrician, and determine if this is something that you can afford. For most, it probably isn't, and so that's why we're hoping that there's going to be a reversal of these rules to accommodate the fact that a lot of people that have spoken to us who are on fixed incomes and whatnot will not be able to accommodate this. So ultimately, that's what we're looking at. There's about 2.5 million households in the Bay Area, about 2 million of which we estimate are going to be impacted by these rules. And that's basically the end of my remarks. It's just simply a cost update. So if there's any questions, I'm here for it. Thank you.
So at this time, if our members here have any questions for either guest, I ask you to please come to the microphone to ask your question. And I'll ask both our presenters to please come up here so we can come to the mic in the event. If you can please come to the mic here and just go ahead and line up and ask your question.
So I think back in 2019, I did the same sort of a research, right? In 2017, when I got solar, I realized that obviously getting heat pump, water heater, or doing the furnace would be very efficient. But when I live in the Kadali Park neighborhood, and all our power lines are underground. And so back in 2019, start of 2019, when I tried to get a permit to apply for the underground power line without knowing the cost, the city told me that the cost would be around 20,000 plus. They don't know how far the main meter connection is. Just to dig the hole and upgrade the panel would be 20,000 plus. I have 100 amp and I already had solar, and this was just to get one of the things done. So I had to get 200 amps, and that was it, right? I mean, I had to turn down the idea of just changing the whole thing, irrespective of, because it was going to cost me like probably $30,000-$40,000. I don't even know how much. Because it took 9 months for the city, and there was no update from the city yet for me to even get permits to start the work or know the cost of it, right? So how do you expect all of us to even try to attempt that? City is always backed up just getting permits to do these things, right?
So let me follow the question. So you have a 100 amp panel, and in 2019, you did an analysis that said you would require an upgrade to what, to 200 amp?
Correct.
And then have you looked at the technology lately?
Well, while you mentioned the 120 volt, I just Googled it, and I couldn't find anywhere, right? Both on AO Smith, so Home Depot, Lowe's, both don't have that option. It just shows something, but if I go in there, it is looking 240 volt. So if it's 120 volt, oh, amazing, I'll be happy to do it today. There's no two questions about it, right?
Yeah, I think the water heaters are easier, right? Because we've got that 120 volt option. And so I think that's why we set the timeline shorter for those. But this is supposed to be a technology forcing rule, and there's some new technology coming out now, for instance, that combines the water heater and the heat pump. So there's a company called Harvest, and the way their system works is they've got one compressor that charges up a larger water heater tank, and it charges it up in the daytime when there's lots of solar and the power is pretty green. And then at night, it draws the heat out of that tank. So instead of needing one compressor for your water heater and one compressor for your heat pump, you just need the one. And so the technology is improving, and that's why we set that future date for the 2029. But we recognize, right, that there's going to be outliers, right, and that there's going to be situations where it may not be workable in a particular case. And so that's why we're proposing some amendments to the rules that will be addressing those kind of situations.
It makes sense. One of the funniest things I just realized is PG&E capping of gas lines. It says $9,500 to just get off-grid from gas. Is it?
I mean, we were given a range. Right, so we were given a lower and upper range of any project that they've ever seen, and that's the upper, that's the range that they saw. Also, one thing I forgot to mention, but I think it might apply to you and everybody else who's probably gonna have a follow-up question. The transformers are a particular issue, so the transformers can supply, manage power for 2 to 8 homes. If your home electrification project is what sets that transformer over its capacity, then you become responsible for changing it out for your street. So you have that additional cost that you have to consider. And then you have 3 permits that go with that. I highlighted them here. You have the excavation permit, the encroachment permit, the electrical permit, and then you have to account for the underground service alert. These are all complications that I forgot to mention that in my original remarks, but just to put it in there for your information.
So basically, let's say if I go off grid, right? Basically from gas. So I get a water heater and a furnace. Those are the only 2 things that I have gas today. And I try to get off PG&E and just do PG&E electric. It's going to cost me minimum $9,500 and maximum $25,000?
So I can't speak to if you go off grid. I don't entirely know what that...
For gas purpose, right? It says PG&E capping of gas lines. What does that mean?
Yeah, so you have to shut off your gas line as part of the electrification process. Yeah, they make you do that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Prasanna?
All right. This question is for Greg. Hi, Greg. I understand these are really extensive changes you're talking about here, so I'm having a problem understanding what is the need. I don't think the issue is defined well enough for me to appreciate. There are some, in your first or second, probably a third or fourth slide, air pollution and public health under that. What data or evidence do you have linking costs of treatment or medical, because you're linking directly to healthcare here.
Yeah.
So I'm not seeing any data here that shows these counties are experiencing vast amount of expenses because of this indoor air quality or anything. So I don't know if that's well known, and maybe I'm lacking that. So could you speak on that? So exactly what are the illnesses that have been directly linked to this, and how is this amounting to increased cost? That's one question I have. The second division I'd like to know more about is, when you're talking about air quality index, you're talking about outdoor and as well as indoor, so meaning the quality of the air inside the house and then the emissions coming out from these equipment. So do you have any breakdown of which of the two is more of a serious concern? And what are the issues? I honestly, I'm not appreciating the issue that is recommending a change of this stature. That's where I'm struggling with.
Okay, yeah, thank you for your question. I'll give you my card before I head out, and I can send you the analysis that we did with the air quality modeling and the health modeling, and it lays out exactly what contributed to those costs. The vast majority of the costs are due to the lives lost. So 85 people per year, 85 excess deaths per year, attributable directly to the emissions from these appliances. And that's what composes most of the health impacts that are avoided. So, as I said before, fine particulate matter is one of the biggest air pollution problems we have in the Bay Area. We're currently out of compliance with federal health standards for fine particulate. San Jose actually has some of the worst air quality in the Bay Area, which not everybody knows. But for fine particulate, one of the most impacted air quality monitors is in East San Jose. And one of the big contributors of that is nitrogen oxides. And as I said in my slides, this is comparable to all of the light-duty vehicles and all the cars. And that fine particulate matter causes people to die earlier, typically from strokes or from heart disease. And there's a tremendous amount of research on this. But I'd be happy to send you kind of the details of how we did the analysis with the emissions modeling, the air quality modeling, the health impacts modeling, and it's got maps and all of that too. So that was kind of like why, right? What is the driver here, right? And I'm sorry, I should have written down your second question.
Oh, the breakdown of emissions for outdoor.
Oh, outdoor versus indoor. This is strictly outdoor air quality. This is not about indoor air quality at all, okay? In your house, if you are cooking, and you're seeing a lot, especially if you're cooking like hamburgers or something where you're like having meat splatter, that'll put a lot of particulate matter inside your house. So you got to be sure that you run your fan, your exhaust fan, and that it's a real exhaust fan that exhausts to the outside, not some of those that kind of recycle through your microwave like to have. So that's what I would worry about for indoor air quality, things like candles, things like that. This is about outdoor air quality because these devices, they all exhaust to the outside. So this is just about outdoor air quality. And thanks for the opportunity to clarify that question.
Okay, you might stay at the microphone because the question will be for you. Is there any hospital complex in the 9 Bay Area counties that have pointed to the success of this effort as a reduction of their budget and closing down of any of their facilities for asthma attacks or stroke or anything else because of this particular rule?
Maybe you could clarify your question because the rule is just going into effect.
Right. So if the models are so powerful that they can predict 85 lives per year and $890 million worth of savings, then I should see that somewhere in somebody's budget that, hey, look, we're going to save all this money. I am completely skeptical about models. I've been told for 50 years that sea levels are going to rise, we're all going to be inundated, temperatures are going to, everything's going to come to a conclusion, and I am very skeptical that your models can do anything that would be significant enough to push these kinds of costs across hundreds of thousands of homeowners for benefits that I think are ephemeral, and the notion of getting to zero NX, NOx is asymptotic. The costs are going to increase ever so much more every time you ratchet the standard up. And I don't trust the data. So that's not a question, I guess, it's just a statement of my concern about the way that we go about making policy in this world, where we point at risks and we convulse and we spend lots and lots of other people's money to meet a standard that is, I don't think, effective. I'll leave it at that. Thanks for listening.
All right, with that, we're going to conclude this evening's presentation. If I can please have a warm welcome and thank you to both of our presenters this evening. We do have their contact information and their resources, so if you'd like to follow up with additional questions, we welcome you to do so. Thank you both for being here this evening. So we're going to move on next to our elected officials updates. I know we just have a few that are here this evening due to the weather. So we're going to begin with Council Member Cohen representing District 4.
Only the hardiest brave this rain, huh? But I celebrate with Dick Santos that we're getting this great rainfall tonight. It's well needed, as it always is. Couple of upcoming events I just want to highlight. On October 22nd, we have our annual pumpkin giveaway for students in Berryessa and Orchard school districts. We'll be doing it this year at Brooktree Elementary School. We're sponsored by ASML this year, so we're going to have a lot of pumpkins and a whole pumpkin patch and a whole lot of other entertainment for kids. So that'll be fun. The other big event is our Christmas event at Christmas in the Park, where we have music performances from our district. We already have Piedmont and Sierramont Middle Schools music departments coming to perform, and other groups from our district. We are looking for additional performers if anyone has any groups or performing people who perform who would like to get a chance up on stage at Cesar Chavez Park. since we had rain last year for our night, I'm counting on not having it this year, and it'll be a great night on December 10th. We have a few, a lot of exciting things happening in the district. In a few weeks, I think next week or the week after, we're breaking ground on the affordable housing project at the Ficino property next to the BART station. It's going to be an exciting project, not just an affordable housing project, but that will also include townhouses, multifamily homes, and an affordable housing project. The affordable housing is going in first, and that construction starts very soon. We also have several businesses that are opening, and one tomorrow we're doing an opening for, kind of timely based on this topic, a business called Decarbonization Training Center. It's a training center to train the workforce that will be needed for all the conversions of appliances that are happening. We have, by the way, it's really exciting things happening in this county on these conversions. And I'm just going to read something from the release about this opening. Heat pumps are 3 to 5 times more efficient than furnaces. So it's not just about, this is not just a cost for homeowners, actually a cost savings, because you have the most efficient appliance if you have a heat pump in your house instead of having a gas furnace and an air conditioner, 2 different appliances. In Silicon Valley, we're adopting this really fast. We now believe about 1 in 5 residents in our county have already adopted heat pumps and switched over, but we know many more are going to do it. Regardless of the rules, it's happening. And so this training center will help train the workforce that will do it. The other piece that wasn't mentioned is the rebates that we offer as the city. Between $1,500 and $2,500 rebates to people that make that conversion. The average cost differential between the traditional replacement of an air conditioner and adding a heat pump is about $2,000. So our rebate fully covers the difference in cost. We've directed our clean energy department to make sure we have enough money in the program next year to cover all the people in the city who are doing that conversion, because that's the question, is there enough money for the rebates? The state also offers rebates, by the way, so you can layer the rebates together. I'm going to just tell the story about, at our council meeting, that the Mayor Mahan said about his upgrade that he made at his home. He was replacing his air conditioner. He put in a heat pump. It cost $1,500 more. And by the way, we found that about 90% of the home have the panels today with the technology today to make the conversion. He upgraded from a traditional air conditioner and furnace to a heat pump. The difference in cost was $1,500. And he's now saving 40% of his energy cost when he runs his air conditioner during the summer, because he's the kind of person who tracks his energy use daily on his app. And he said that he's cut his energy use by 40%. The average resident saves about $300 a year on their electricity bill when they make that conversion. So I just wanted to highlight some conversations we're having at the city to make sure that we're facilitating the conversion here in San Jose and offering all the services we can provide to make sure that residents will be ready for the changes that are coming. And that's it for my report this month.
Next, I'd like to welcome Richard Santos for his monthly update for the Valley Water District.
Well, good evening, all. I'm presently the Vice Chair of Santa Clara Valley Water District. Happy to be here. Of course, I'm happy when it rains, and Ty greeted me already. Going back to Bob Gross, I appreciate the comments, and Councilmember Cohen celebrated at the City Hall, and I got a chance to say a few words. And of course, Bob was the director from 1981 to 2001, and I took over for him. He broke me in fact, brought me here years ago. And we've been friends for over 62 years. So thank you for that acknowledgement. When it rains, we have to be prepared for floods. And so it just never stops. But our stream maintenance programs are full-time right now. We had coastal cleanup. And I met a lot of beautiful, fantastic people who are volunteers. A lot of our young people. I was really pleased, the chance to meet some here. I had something like 10 alone in my district, and it felt so good to see volunteers cleaning up the rivers and creeks and all that. Like I've said before, we have dams. There's 10 of them, and we all have earthquake restrictions going on. So it's not bad news, we're just up for the challenges, but like everything else today, we're not getting state or federal funding. So it's a difficult time. We're up for the challenge. And the homeless continues. And I'm here with the CHP, just got through saying, makes me feel pretty good that we're getting more support and we can work together to remove them. The biggest issue is you have a ballot measure right now. That's something I hope that we can get more mental facilities and medical to address the need. I sure hope so. Other than that, I can go on. You know, we got to think about, you got this penitentiary plan over here. Just think about it. 724, those folks work up there. And we're the board of directors. And have they ever closed down? No. Christmas, New Year's, and all those folks give up birthdays and all this stuff to keep water for all of you. And I just got through some new statistics. And again, in Santa Clara County, you basically have the most economic water and the best water in the state of California. It's right here. So, you know, it's time to sometimes to say thank you for what's being done. There's a lot of bad news going on today, but you know, you have to have the hope and have these kind of meetings to keep on going. Just like tonight, met with the captain, we were starting talking about some of the so on. And by the way, you know, the sheriff's department has not been here for like 4 or 5 months. And it's sad. Those elected officials need to get the sheriff's department here to address our issues. 10,000 people come up in a weekend on Sierra Road. It's not a happy time. But we'll keep on working together, and if you ever have any questions, you just give me a call. Yeah, Ty?
I don't know if it's for you, Richard, or how it works, but I've noticed a number of these large trucks that come up and they appear to be clearing out the sewer lines or the drainage lines, and it's been going on for months. And is that in anticipation of the flooding and the rain, or is this something that's just standard maintenance practice?
No, that's the maintenance for the city of San Jose. It's ongoing. In fact, you know, we just can't wait to see them in Alviso, because those drains today, with people throwing trash and garbage, and we still have ditches in Alviso that clog up the pumps. And so we want the water to flow, and we hope we can have more filtering, but thank goodness they're out there doing it. In fact, the sad news, my septic tank pump just went out, and I was sitting there, anyway, got to buy new stuff and never stop. You know, right now, I still don't know these two gentlemen that talked. It was hard to hear everything. I don't know if it's good news or bad news, but if the mayor has a pump, I hope you'll share that with us so I can take a look at it. Because when I built my house, gas was the thing to do. And now it's skyrocketed, and I have solar system for 10 years. The electric is down, and the gas is skyrocketing. But thank you.
Thank you. And next, I will give my report for Berryessa Union School District. It's really brief today. I just want to share the state released all of our performance scores, you know, statewide in English language arts and mathematics. So really proud of our Berryessa progress. So just to give you a point of comparison, for English language arts, the state average was 48.82% proficient or above. For Santa Clara County, that average went up to 59%. And for Berryessa, our English language arts proficiency rate is at 64.73%. And we grew an extra percent this year. So really proud of that. And in the area of math continues to be an area of focus statewide, and there continues to be shifts in the math curriculum and, you know, the frameworks and the pathways. We actually have a new framework that we're responding to right now. So at the state level, the average rate for proficiency or above is 37.30%. For Santa Clara County, that average is 53%. And for Berryessa, our average right now is 55%. So we're inching our way up. It's definitely an area of focus for us in our schools, but glad to see that we didn't decline in either area. We only grew. And so again, just want to continue to applaud all of our teachers, our support staff, our principals, and our parents who work in partnership with us to make sure our students continue to have an excellent education. And in addition, as you all know, we have a vacancy on our school school board with former trustee Hugo Jimenez resigning, we had a lot of interest in the appointment opportunity. We actually have 17 eligible applicants. So please zoom into our board meeting on Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. The board will be conducting interviews for all of those interested individuals and making their selection for an appointee. This individual will take this seat from now until the end of December 2026. That seat will become an open seat for the November 2026 election cycle. So in case anyone's interested out there for that, it will be an open opportunity. And so that concludes my report. Yes?
Could you talk a little bit about the utilization of the closing, schools that are going to close? You're mapping people, organizations into those buildings?
Yes, thank you for that question. So we did consolidate 3 school sites at the end of last year, Toyon, Laneview, as well as Cherrywood Elementary School. We already have tenants for 2 out of the 3 locations. So over at Toyon Elementary, I've shared with the group here in the past, we're really excited about developing an early learning complex over at Toyon. Currently, we don't offer a state preschool in our schools, and so state preschool opportunity will be coming to all eligible children for free through Kidango, which is a nonprofit. In addition to that, we are partnering at that site with the Children's Discovery Museum. Many of you might be familiar with them in downtown San Jose. They will be doing a satellite there at Toyon that will help frame the curriculum for those infants and toddlers in the natural environment. Knowing that Toyon is so close to the Perk Ponds, to Penitencia Creek, to Elm Rock State Park, we want to bring that exterior learning opportunity into their classrooms and also extend that learning to all the children across the Berryessa community. So they'll be opening their doors January 2026. They plan to start with at least 8 preschool classrooms, maybe more, and Children's Discovery Museum will also be in position to have an installation there at the site. And we're also in phase 2, we'll be looking at creating a family resource center at that complex. So a lot of excitement happening in the Toyon neighborhood that will be a wonderful asset for our early learners in Berryessa. For Laneview, you're going to steal my thunder. It's in my newsletter tonight. But we have a tenant for the Laneview property as well, and that is the Children's Health Council. They're a long-time established non-public school and learning center supporting students with learning differences, ADHD, and autism. And we already have children that are part of some of their programming located out in Palo Alto, and so now that programming will be available here in Berryessa. They're also excited to work with us in partnership to be able to do parent workshops and other educational opportunities to help families navigate their students' needs in those areas. And they also hope to open their doors in January 2026. So really excited about that. In the meantime, at the Cherrywood location, we currently are utilizing that for district staff. If you recall, a few years ago, we had a warehouse fire at our maintenance facility located next to Piedmont Middle School. So the whole thing burned down, and it's taken us a bit of time working with insurance to be able to work through the rebuild. That is now happening, and construction is starting this month actually for that location. So all of our staff over at MOT, which is our maintenance, operations, and transportation, some of them are are going over to the Birchwood campus, and then our technology division, our curriculum resource support division are all currently at Cherrywood being housed there. So we've got everything covered at this time. I know there's always a lot of questions about buildings being vacant, and that's not of concern. We have utilized all of those spaces, so thank you for that question. And so next, I'd like to welcome another guest this evening and introduce you to Lorena Chavez. She is a school board member, trustee for the Eastside Union High School District. So as you know, Berryessa School District, we're a TK through 8th grade school district. Our students then feed into Eastside Union and attend either Piedmont Hills High School or Independence High School. So I wanted to give her an opportunity to say hello.
Thank you, Dr. Fuentes. Hello. Thank you all for this time tonight. My name is Lorena Chavez. I will start with saying that I'm an educator at heart. I started my journey in education as a middle school math and science teacher in the Alum Rock School District. I was also a principal. And so anytime anybody talks about teaching and learning, you're speaking my love language. That is my purpose. And so hearing Dr. Fuentes speak about the growth in Berryessa, particularly with our English language arts, is so big. I'm always thinking about how it is that we could uplift our students and really set them up for success. One of my big focuses right now as an educator is to ensure that we can double the amount of kids that could read by 3rd grade. Why 3rd grade? Because 3rd grade is one of the indicators that says if our students are proficient in reading by 3rd grade, then they could reach economic mobility. If you look across the east side, and the east side is pretty big, about 33% of kids can read by 3rd grade. When you think about kids that come from a low socioeconomic status, that's about 20%. Our English language learners, even further behind, that's about 10%. So when I hear Dr. Fuentes talk about the great work happening at Berryessa and how many kids could read, that's remarkable. So before I even say anything about Eastside, I just want to give Dr. Fuentes a round of applause for her great work and leadership. Thank you. Teamwork, teamwork. So what is happening at Eastside? A number of things are happening at Eastside. So recently, a few weeks ago, we had the Moon Festival. So we have a large Vietnamese community across the Eastside, and so we celebrated the New Year. That happened at Andrew Hill High School. And actually, before I go further, let me talk a little bit about the Eastside. I don't know how familiar we are with how large the Eastside Union High School District is. It covers pretty much from the border of Morgan Hill all the way to the border of Milpitas, with covering Piedmont Hills, Independence, YB, Overfelt, Silver Creek, Evergreen Valley, Santa Teresa, Calero, Oak Grove, you name it. We have 11 traditional high schools. We have 2 adult ed. We have 3 or 4 continuation schools and many more other institutions that support our learners across the district. So given that we're a high school district, we have 7 feeder elementary middle school districts. Berryessa is one of them. We also are part of Alum Rock, Franklin McKinley, Oak Grove, Evergreen, Orchard, and Mount Pleasant. And so that is the jurisdiction that we cover. And up until recently, we were at large. Well, I guess till 2026. And so you all will probably hear a little bit more about this. The latest news is that we have gone from at-large voting to now trustee areas. So starting in 2026, you will start voting for individual trustee areas. And so this 2 Fridays ago, our board voted for us to start that cycle of trustee area voting. So in 2026, we're going to have 3 areas up, and then in the presidential election, we'll have the remaining areas. The different trustee areas that were split across the east side is you have your Berryessa trustee area, that's trustee area 4. We're referring to it as the Berryessa trustee district. That will cover pretty much Orchard School District and Berryessa School District. And the high schools that will be part of that area are going to be Piedmont Hills and Independence High School. And then you have the Alum Rock Trustee Area 1. That is mainly Alum Rock Elementary School District, and that covers James Slick, Overfelt, Mount Pleasant, and a few other high schools. And then you have Trustee Area 5, which covers Evergreen Valley and I believe Silver Creek High School. And then you have the southern part, which is Trustee Area 2, and that will cover Oak Grove, Calero, and another high school that I'm not remembering right now, but that's the south side of San Jose. And then the last district is Trustee Area 3, which is pretty much Franklin McKinley School District. That's the main feeder to that trustee area. And the two high schools that will be covered in that area are Yerba Buena High School and Andrew Hill High School. And so this upcoming election cycle, Trustee Area 4, the Berryessa Trustee Area will be up. You also will have Trustee Area 2 in the south side, and then Trustee Area 1, which is the Alum Rock Union High School, Alum Rock District. And I am excited to say that I am the current representative for the Berryessa School District. So anything that you need from me, please feel free. I want to make sure that I come to as many of these meetings as possible, and if there's any other place, I'd love to be there to support our community. I am technically a board member at large, but I live in this community, and I just wanted to share an update, quickly talk a little bit about who I am, and I look forward to staying in communication with you all. Thank you.
Thank you. And then just to see, Mike, any announcements for Penitencia Neighborhood Association?
We're just going to have a little cleanup over here by Penitencia on, it's the autumn. It's the Beautify San Jose Autumn Festival cleanup, okay? So we're just taking part in that. We're going to clean up the area around Penitencia. Other than that, we're focusing on trying to get our volunteers together. But thank you.
Thank you. And then just a reminder to everyone, our next meeting will take place here on November 10th. We have our BCAC board meeting next week on the 20th at 6:30 at the BUSD district office. I'd like to thank Prasanna and Susan for bringing cookies today. Thank you, Sita, for bringing the water for all of us. And if there are any volunteers for cookies for next month's meeting, please don't hesitate to let us know. And thank